Rogers Wade. Well, it's sort of like the man himself. That's a large question. Rogers is a fairly large guy.
They say it's the people you meet, the books you read, and the choices you make. Those are the three things that shape your life. I'm just so lucky to have crossed paths with Rogers Wade.
He sort of looks like Santa Claus in a lot of respects. I'm not sure he like me saying that, but he does. But he's a person of integrity with a great sense of humor. Can't always repeat what he says, but he really just is a person that you come to count on. He's very much of a rock for a lot of people and a mentor.
Rogers is better than Google when it comes to Georgia, because you can't call up Larry Page and ask him what about Willacoochee, Georgia, who was Lance Futch and the famous mayor from Willacoochee, Georgia. But you can call Rogers and he'll know, and he'll tell you how that's connected.
And he likes to be in the shadows, so I presume he's probably going to be squirming right now when we're talking about him. But people need to know what he has meant to us as individuals, to the organizations he's been a part of, and to the state. He has been a big part of the success that all of us have had.
But he's a true public servant. I mean, we know his history with serving our nation, serving our state, but also serving those who serve, the men and women of the armed forces. And for that, USO is truly grateful.
There is one thing that Rogers may be a little suspect when it comes to integrity and truth, and I sort of hate to mention this, but he would have you believe that he's a great marksman and a great shooter of guns. I've been fortunate in a position to watch him on several hunting trips that we've been on in South Georgia and in South Carolina and Pennsylvania, and it's just, he's not as good as he thinks he is. That's the only flaw I've found in him, to be honest.
His primary legacy beyond marrying Marcia would be his behind-the-scenes architecture of Leadership Georgia, which is the premier program of its kind in the country. Leadership Georgia is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, and if you look through the directory, it's pretty much a who's who of Georgia. People have made a difference.
I would describe Rogers as a guy who is the center of the Georgia political universe. Rogers has been a part of all that this state has been since the 70s, when Herman Talmadge's chief of staff.
Rogers was a trusted advisor to Senator Talmadge, and even to the point of trying to help him with some of his speech and delivery. And he said, "Senator, about this helicopter thing, you keep calling it a heliocopter, but really it's helicopter, Senator." And the senator took his cigar out and said, "Rogers, I've been to Germany. I've met the man who invented the damn thing, and he called it a heliocopter." And he poked his cigar back in, and that was the end of the story.
If you go down in the hallways in corporate Georgia right now, he could probably point out 4 people in every major company that are in executive level positions that interned for him for Senator Talmadge, and that he still knows and trusts and works with.
He has the ability to make friends with everybody and anybody that he ever saw. His infectious sense of irreverent humor, his ability to remember things, he's just the kind of guy that you like, trust, and want to know. And you, maybe in some ways, you want to be sure he knows you too.
When I was working at the foundation, I'd come in most afternoons about 4:30, and Rogers and I would sit there and talk about Georgia politics until 6 or 6:30. He knows how things happened in Georgia and who was involved in it and all the players. His love for history is such a tie to what is going on in Georgia politics today.
One of Rogers' greatest strengths, one of the things that he has built his entire career on, is he does his fact gathering before he expresses an opinion. When you're expressing an opinion or a thought, given his love of free enterprise, and you base it on the facts which he has personally researched, what is there to change your opinion? You're either right or you're wrong. And if he's got his facts right, he's right. So there is no wishy-washiness.
USO, or United Service Organizations, is the not-for-profit civilian organization that provides community support for the men and women of the armed forces. Rogers Wade has been a phenomenal board member for 25 years, and he's probably an unknown hero to the men and women of the armed forces because so many of his contributions are probably not known to the average serviceman or servicewoman. 20 years ago it was even difficult to get board members because we were just coming down from the Gulf War. The military were downsizing, and many people thought, oh, we're in an era of peace, and we were. And we just really didn't need them. Maybe we don't need the services. Rogers was there to say, yes, we still do. We have an all-volunteer Army. They still have to have the troops ready and prepared for if there is a tragedy. And we know what happened after 2001. What I would like to say is, Rogers, congratulations, and I want to say to you, thank you on behalf of USO, but more importantly, the millions of men and women that are serving our country who don't know what you do for them through USO.
The mentoring of people is not always easy because when you're as experienced, Rogers, as he is, you know, it takes patience to work some people through the system.
There has never been a time in my life where I haven't called Rogers for advice, asked him to get together, that he hasn't immediately dropped what he was doing, come met me for breakfast at the IHOP or the Waffle House.
And without him, I would not have found success. I would not have found really the ability to do what I do now, which is really a different whole world than I used to be in. But it's thank you for showing me a whole other world out there and also teaching me to be a better person.
If Rogers walked into the room, you would expect some laughing soon because he's going to touch somebody's funny button within the first few minutes. That's just his personality. He's got an anecdote, he's got a story, he's got a quip, but he's going to get you laughing to set you at ease. And that's why he himself could have been a great politician too if he had ever chosen to put his name on the ballot. Instead, he stayed behind the scenes and made some great politicians, some great leaders, elected officials for the state of Georgia and the country.
I cannot say enough good things about Rogers. It begins to be syrup if I talk too much, and I'm not going to do that. Old codger, old grumpy codger. I don't want to be too sweet to him. He might get a big head to match his belly.